Welcome to the Honeyed Leaf, where every cup of tea comes with a story. I'm so glad you're here. If you enjoy gentle mysteries that help you sleep, please subscribe so you never miss a visit to Willowbrook. Tonight, we're returning to the peaceful village, where Clara Whitmore is about to find herself drawn into another gentle mystery. Before we begin, find a comfortable position, close your eyes if you'd like, and let yourself relax. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do. Just let the story carry you peacefully towards sleep. Now, let's visit Willowbrook together. Chapter 1, The Mysterious Deliveries. Late October settled over Willowbrook, with crisp mornings and evenings that smelled of wood smoke and fallen leaves. Clara loved this time of year. The golden light, the changing trees, the cosy feeling of drawing inward as winter approached. The honeyed leaf felt especially welcoming now, a warm refuge from the autumn chill. She'd decorated the shop with small pumpkins and dried cornstalks, autumn leaves in copper vases, and candles that smelled of cinnamon and cloves. Her autumn spice blend was popular, and she'd added a new apple cider tea that customers requested daily. Life in Willowbrook had settled into its comfortable rhythms. One Thursday morning in late October, Clara arrived at the shop early to prepare for the day. She unlocked the door, turned on the lights, and stopped in surprise. On the doorstep sat a small wicker basket covered with a clean white cloth. Clara looked around. The street was empty, the village still mostly asleep in the pre-dawn darkness. She picked up the basket and brought it inside. Under the cloth were 6 beautiful scones, still slightly warm, arranged on a small plate. They looked professionally made, golden brown, perfectly shaped. A small card tucked beside them read simply, "For the community. With gratitude." Clara examined the scones carefully. They were studded with currants and had a lovely glaze. The aroma was wonderful, butter and sugar, and something warm and spiced. But who had left them? And why on her doorstep specifically? She set the basket aside, puzzled but charmed by this mysterious gift. When Mrs. Pembroke arrived for her morning tea, Clara showed her the basket. "How curious," Mrs. Pembroke said, examining the scones. "They look exquisite, and you have no idea who left them." "None at all. I found them when I opened this morning." "Well, there's one way to determine their quality," Mrs. Pembroke said with a smile. "May I?" "Please do." Mrs. Pembroke tried a scone. Her eyes widened. "Oh my, Clara, these are extraordinary. The texture, the flavour. Whoever made these is a master baker. These are better than anything I've had outside of a top London bakery." Clara tried one herself. Mrs. Pembroke was right. The scones were exceptional. Light, buttery, perfectly balanced in sweetness. Professional quality, made with obvious skill and care. Throughout the morning, Clara shared the mysterious scones with customers, telling them about the anonymous delivery. Everyone who tried them was impressed. Old Tom Fletcher declared them the best scones he'd ever tasted. Emma from the bookshop said they rivaled anything she'd had in her travels. The mystery deepened the next morning. When Clara arrived to open the shop, another basket waited on her doorstep. This time it contained 8 apple tarts, beautifully made, still warm from the oven. The same card, "For the community, with gratitude." Clara looked up and down the street. Nothing, no one in sight. Whoever was leaving these baked goods was doing so in the very early morning, before anyone else was awake. She brought the basket inside, marvelling at the tarts. They were works of art, perfectly crimped edges, a light glaze, the scent of cinnamon and apples. When Beatrice stopped by for her morning tea, Clara showed her the new delivery. "This is the second morning in a row," Clara explained. "Yesterday scones, today apple tarts. Both absolutely excellent, both left anonymously on my doorstep." Beatrice examined the tarts thoughtfully. "How intriguing. Someone wants to share their baking but doesn't want recognition. The question is, why your doorstep specifically? Why not the church or the village hall or someplace more public?" "I've been wondering that too," Clara said. "Though the honeyed leaf does serve as a kind of community gathering place, perhaps they knew I'd share them. Still, it's quite mysterious. Have you asked around to see if anyone else has received similar deliveries?" Clara hadn't, so she spent the day casually asking customers if they'd found any mysterious baked goods on their doorsteps. No one had. The deliveries seemed to be exclusively to the honeyed leaf. The tarts, like the scones before them, were exceptional. Customers raved about them. Several people asked if Clara had hired a baker or was offering new items. She had to explain repeatedly that she hadn't made them and didn't know who had. The third morning brought another delivery. This time, a dozen pumpkin muffins, beautifully spiced with a streusel topping. Again, the card. For the community, with gratitude. Clara was now thoroughly intrigued and slightly frustrated. Who was this talented baker, and why were they being so secretive? That afternoon, Eleanor Hartwell stopped by for tea and heard about the mysterious deliveries. "How fascinating," Eleanor said. "Someone with considerable baking skill, delivering their goods anonymously, specifically to your shop. There must be a reason, a story behind it." "I agree, but I can't figure it out. I've asked around. No one else is receiving deliveries. No one knows who might be doing this." "Perhaps we should stake out your shop," Sophie suggested, joining the conversation. "Stay up late, see who makes the delivery." "I was thinking the same thing," Clara admitted. "Though I feel a bit silly spying on someone who's only trying to do something kind." "But wouldn't you like to thank them?" Eleanor asked. "And perhaps understand why they're doing this?" Clara agreed. That night, she decided to stay up and watch. She settled in her flat above the shop with a book and a pot of tea, ready to wait as long as necessary. Around 11 o'clock, the village was quiet, most windows dark. Around midnight, Clara heard a sound. Soft footsteps on the street below. She moved carefully to the window and looked out. A figure approached the honeyed leaf, carrying a basket. They moved quietly, almost furtively. In the dim light from the street lamp, Clara couldn't make out much detail. The figure was bundled in a coat and hat against the autumn chill. They set the basket down on the doorstep, paused for a moment as if saying a small prayer or making a wish, then turned and walked quickly away. Clara grabbed her own coat and hurried downstairs. By the time she unlocked the door and stepped outside, the figure had disappeared around the corner toward the church. Clara followed quickly but quietly, not wanting to frighten whoever it was. She turned the corner and saw the figure ahead, walking briskly. They turned again, heading toward the old part of the village. Clara continued following at a distance. The figure walked with purpose, clearly knowing where they were going. They passed the church, the library, several cottages. Finally, they approached a small house near the edge of the village, one Clara recognised as belonging to the Winters family. The figure let themselves in with a key. Clara stood in the street watching the house. A light came on in what looked like the kitchen, so the mysterious baker was someone from the Winters family. But who? And why the anonymous deliveries? She walked slowly back to the honeyed leaf, her mind working through possibilities. On the doorstep, as expected, was another basket. She brought it inside. Cinnamon rolls this time, still warm, beautifully made, with a cream cheese frosting. The card read as always, "For the community, with gratitude." The next morning, Clara asked Mrs. Pembroke about the Winters family. "They're quite private," Mrs. Pembroke said. "The family has lived in Willowbrook for generations. Currently, it's just Anne Winters and her granddaughter Lily. Anne's husband passed away several years ago, and her daughter lives abroad. Lily moved in with Anne after finishing school, helps take care of her." "What does Lily do?" Clara asked casually. "I'm not entirely sure. She keeps to herself, doesn't socialise much in the village. Very shy, I think. Anne mentioned once that Lily trained as a pastry chef in London, but gave it up for some reason. Came back to Willowbrook and has barely left the house since." Clara's interest sharpened. A trained pastry chef would certainly have the skills to make the extraordinary baked goods that had been appearing on her doorstep. But why would Lily Winters be doing this anonymously? What was the story there? Clara decided she needed to visit Anne Winters and, if possible, speak with Lily, but she would need to be tactful. There was clearly a reason for the secrecy, and she didn't want to intrude or make Lily uncomfortable. That afternoon, Clara baked some of her own autumn biscuits and put them in a nice tin. She'd use them as an excuse to visit, a neighbourly gesture that wouldn't seem suspicious. She walked to the Winters house as the autumn afternoon light slanted golden through the trees. The house was small but well maintained, with a neat garden now mostly put to bed for winter. Clara knocked on the door. After a moment, an elderly woman answered. "Mrs. Winters, I'm Clara Whitmore, from the Honeyed Leaf Tea Shop. I wanted to introduce myself properly and bring you these biscuits." Anne Winters smiled warmly. "How kind of you, dear. Please come in." The house was cosy inside, warm and smelling faintly of baking. Clara followed Anne into a small sitting room. "Would you like some tea?" Anne offered. "That would be lovely, thank you." While Anne went to make tea, Clara looked around. The room was filled with photographs, many of them showing what appeared to be family gatherings, celebrations. Several prominently featured a young woman at various ages, often in kitchens or holding baked goods. Lily, Clara assumed. Anne returned with tea and they settled in to chat. Clara complimented the house, mentioned how much she was enjoying Willowbrook, asked about the village's history. Anne was clearly lonely and happy to have company. She talked about her late husband, about their life in the village, about her daughter who lived in Australia. "And your granddaughter lives with you?" Clara asked gently. "Yes, Lily. She's been such a help since my Arthur passed, though I do worry about her." Anne's expression grew sad. "She's so talented, but she's lost her confidence. She was doing so well in London, working at a prestigious restaurant on track to become a head pastry chef. Then something happened. She won't talk about it, but she came home quite shaken. She's barely left the house since, barely talks to anyone outside the family. It breaks my heart to see her hiding away when she has such gifts." Clara's own heart ached with understanding. "Sometimes we need time to heal," she said gently. "Perhaps she'll find her way back to her passion when she's ready." "I hope so. She still bakes, thank goodness. Late at night when she thinks I'm asleep, she goes down to the kitchen and creates the most wonderful things. I find them in the morning, all these beautiful pastries and breads. She's keeping her skills sharp. But she won't sell them, won't share them, won't even let me tell people she made them. Such a waste of talent." Clara chose her words carefully. "Perhaps she shares them in her own way. Perhaps the joy for her right now is in the making, not in the recognition." Anne looked at Clara thoughtfully. "That's a kind way to see it. You know, she asks about your tea shop sometimes. She's never been in, but she walks past it occasionally, looks in the windows. I think she's drawn to it but too shy to enter." "She would be welcome any time," Clara said warmly. "No pressure, no expectations, just a cup of tea and a quiet space." They talked for another half hour, and Clara took her leave. As she walked back to the Honeyed Leaf, she thought about Lily Winters. A talented young woman, hurt somehow in London, hiding away in Willowbrook, baking in secret in the middle of the night, and delivering her beautiful creations anonymously to the Honeyed Leaf. Why? What was she hoping for? What did she need? Clara understood now that this wasn't just about mysterious baked goods. It was about someone trying to find their way back to themselves, to their passion, to their place in the world. And somehow, the Honeyed Leaf was part of that journey. Chapter 2. Understanding the Story. The anonymous deliveries continued. Each morning brought something new. Chocolate croissants, fruit tarts, cinnamon bread, lemon bars. Each item was exceptional, made with obvious skill and care. And each came with the same card. For the community, with gratitude. Clara shared everything with her customers, who looked forward to the morning surprises. But she said nothing about Lily Winters. That was private, and Clara wanted to respect Lily's need for anonymity. However, Clara did start doing something new. Each morning when she found the basket, she would leave a note in return. Simple, kind messages. "Thank you for these beautiful creations. They bring joy to everyone who tastes them. Your talent is a gift. Thank you for sharing it. The care you put into your work shows. It's appreciated." Small affirmations, gentle encouragement, nothing that demanded a response. Just acknowledgement and gratitude. Clara noticed the notes were gone each morning, collected along with the empty baskets. Someone was reading them. One morning, about 2 weeks into the mysterious deliveries, Clara found something different. Along with a basket of beautiful apple turnovers, there was a new note. Not the usual card, but a longer letter, handwritten. Clara read it as she brought the basket inside. "Dear Clara, I hope you don't mind that I use your first name. I know who you are, of course, though we've never met. You've probably figured out who I am by now. I want you to know why I've been leaving these baked goods at your shop. A year ago, I was working in London at a high-end restaurant. I'd achieved everything I thought I wanted. Head pastry chef position, recognition, success. But the environment was brutal, competitive, demanding, sometimes cruel. I made a mistake one night. Nothing terrible. But my supervisor berated me in front of the entire kitchen staff. Told me I was useless, that I'd never succeed, that I should quit before I embarrassed myself further. It shouldn't have broken me. I know that. Professional kitchens are tough, and I should have been stronger. But I wasn't. I fell apart. I left London and came home, and I've been hiding here ever since. I stopped baking for months, couldn't bring myself to go near a kitchen. But eventually, late at night when no one was around, I started again. Small things at first, just to see if I still could. And I discovered something. I didn't love baking for recognition or success. I loved it for the act itself, for the process of creating something beautiful and delicious, for the satisfaction of getting it right, for knowing that something I made might bring someone a moment of pleasure. I started baking more, but I couldn't bear the thought of selling my work, of putting myself out there again, of risking more judgment and criticism. Then I thought about your tea shop. I walk past it sometimes, looking in. I see how you create a space of warmth and welcome, how you serve tea with care, how customers linger, comfortable and valued. I thought, maybe I could contribute to that. Anonymously, without pressure, just sharing what I make. Your notes have meant more than you know. Your affirmations that my work brings joy, that my talent is a gift. I needed to hear that. I'm not ready to step out of the shadows yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but I wanted you to know why. And to thank you for sharing my work so generously, Lily. Clara read the letter 3 times, her eyes filling with tears. This young woman, hurt and hiding, finding her way back to her passion through these anonymous gifts. Using the honeyed leaf as a bridge between her private world and the community. Trusting Clara to be the conduit for her creations. Clara sat down and wrote a response. Dear Lily, thank you for trusting me with your story. I understand the need to protect yourself after being hurt. There is no rush, no pressure. You share your gifts in exactly the way that works for you right now, and that is enough. I'm honoured to be part of your journey back to baking. The people who enjoy your work don't need to know your name to appreciate your talent and care, but I want you to know something. The person who broke your confidence in London was wrong. Your work is exceptional. Your talent is real. You have every right to claim your gifts. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, there is a place for you here. Not just in this village, but in the world of baking you love. Don't let one cruel person steal that from you. But again, no rush. Heal at your own pace. In the meantime, thank you for sharing your beautiful creations. They do bring joy. Every single morning. With warmth and friendship, Clara. She left the note where Lily would find it when she collected the basket that night. The next morning, there was no delivery. Clara felt a moment of worry. Had she said too much? Had she pushed when she should have held back? But the morning after that, a basket appeared. Inside was a single item. A cake, beautifully decorated, with delicate piped flowers and leaves. It was a work of art. The card read, "Thank you for understanding. This felt like the right way to say that. Lily." Clara displayed the cake prominently in the shop. Customers marvelled at it. "Is this for sale?" several people asked. "No," Clara said. "It's a gift. From a very talented baker who's sharing her art with the community." The anonymous deliveries settled into a pattern. Each morning something different. Always excellent, always with a card. Sometimes just the usual, "for the community," with gratitude. Sometimes with a longer note, Lily sharing a bit more of herself. She wrote about her process, about what she was learning or experimenting with. She wrote about her grandmother and how Anne's encouragement kept her going. She wrote about watching the honeyed leaf from outside, appreciating the community Clara had built. Clara always responded, always encouraging, always patient, never pushing. As October moved toward November, Clara had an idea. The village was planning a small Halloween celebration. Not frightening, just festive. Games for children, treats, decorations. The honeyed leaf would provide hot cider and tea. What if Lily contributed? Anonymously, of course, but as an official part of the celebration. Clara wrote to Lily about the idea. The village Halloween celebration is next Saturday. Would you be willing to provide some baked goods? They could be displayed anonymously, just labelled, "From a friend to the village." No pressure, just an invitation. If you're not ready, that's completely fine. But if you want to share your work with more people, this could be a gentle way. 2 days later, a response came. "I'll do it. Tell me what's needed." Clara felt a surge of joy. This was progress. Lily was willing to share her work more widely, even if still anonymously. They exchanged notes about what would work. Lily offered to make an assortment. Pumpkin items, apple items, some chocolate treats. Everything seasonal and festive, but not scary. Clara coordinated with the celebration committee, explaining that she had a baker who wanted to contribute anonymously. Everyone was delighted at the prospect. The morning of the Halloween celebration, Clara arrived early to find not one but 6 large baskets on her doorstep. Lily had outdone herself. Pumpkin cupcakes with cream cheese frosting, apple hand pies, chocolate cookies shaped like autumn leaves, mini pumpkin breads, cinnamon sugar donut holes, and an enormous, beautifully decorated cake featuring an autumn scene in fondant and icing. Clara was overwhelmed. This represented hours and hours of work, a tremendous amount of skill and care. She carefully brought everything inside and set up a special display table for the celebration. She made signs. Baked goods generously donated by a friend to the village. The celebration began at 2 in the afternoon. Families came with children in costumes. Cheerful decorations hung from the trees. The weather cooperated, providing one of those perfect autumn days that made everything feel magical. And Lily's baked goods were a sensation. People couldn't believe the quality and beauty. Who made these? Everyone wanted to know. A talented baker who prefers to remain anonymous, Clara said, but who wants to share their gifts with the community. The treats disappeared quickly, with everyone raving about them. Several people asked if they could commission the baker for special occasions. Clara took notes, promising to pass along the requests, though she wasn't sure how Lily would respond. As the afternoon progressed, Clara noticed someone watching from a distance. A young woman standing at the edge of the green, partially hidden by a tree, observing the celebration. Lily. Clara recognised her from the photographs at Anne's house. Their eyes met across the distance. Clara smiled warmly, raised her hand in a small wave. An acknowledgement, an invitation, but no pressure. Lily stood frozen for a moment, then tentatively waved back. She stayed for another few minutes, watching people enjoy her creations, seeing the joy and appreciation they brought. Then she turned and walked away. But something in her posture seemed lighter, less burdened. That evening, after the celebration ended and Clara was cleaning up, she found a note. It had been tucked under the empty baskets. "Thank you for today. Seeing people enjoy what I made, even though they didn't know it was mine. That helped, more than I can express. I'm not ready to step forward yet, but I'm closer than I was. And that's because of your kindness and patience. Thank you, Clara. Your friend Lily." Clara held the note, feeling its significance. This young woman, slowly healing, slowly finding her way back to herself and her passion. And the honeyed leaf had played a small part in that journey. It was a profound gift, to be trusted with someone's vulnerability, to help create a space where healing could happen. Chapter 3. Moving forward. November arrived with colder weather and earlier darkness. The honeyed leaf became an even more important refuge from the chill. Clara continued her regular correspondence with Lily. The anonymous deliveries continued, each morning bringing something new. But something was shifting. Lily's notes were becoming more confident, more hopeful. She wrote about experimenting with new recipes, about dreams she was starting to have again, about possibilities she was beginning to consider. One morning in mid-November, Clara arrived to find not just a basket, but a question. "Would you be willing to sell some of my items in your shop? Still anonymously, but for actual sale?" I'd like to see if people value them enough to pay. We could call them artisan baked goods or something similar. Nothing that identifies me, but I want to test whether my work has real value or if people only like it because it's free. Clara immediately wrote back, "Absolutely yes. Your work has tremendous value. People have been asking if they can buy your creations. I'll set up a display tomorrow. Whatever you want to charge, that's what we'll do. This is wonderful progress, Lily." The next morning brought an assortment of beautifully packaged items, each with a price tag. The prices were quite modest, Clara thought. Too modest for the quality and care involved. But she understood. Lily was testing, seeing if anyone would actually pay, needing that validation. Clara set up a special display case near the counter. "Artisan baked goods by a local baker," read the sign. She put out the items, everything beautifully presented. Within 2 hours, everything had sold. People were delighted to finally be able to buy these creations they'd been enjoying for weeks. By lunchtime, Clara had a list of requests for more items, special orders for upcoming events, questions about whether the baker did custom cakes. She carefully documented everything. That evening, she left the money from the sales along with a note detailing all the requests. Everything sold in hours. People are thrilled. See attached requests. You could charge double these prices and people would happily pay. Your work is valued, Lily. Very much so. The response came quickly. "This is overwhelming, but good overwhelming. I'll fulfill some of these orders. Let's start small. Maybe I can do a few items each week?" Thus began a new phase. Lily would leave items to be sold in the shop. Clara would sell them, keep careful records, pass along the money and any special requests. It was still anonymous, but it was real business. Lily was sharing her work with the world again, even if from behind a curtain. The arrangement worked beautifully. Lily's baked goods became a regular feature at the Honeyed Leaf. Customers looked forward to seeing what would be available each week. Special orders increased. Lily, working from her grandmother's kitchen in the middle of the night, was building a small business. And more importantly, she was rebuilding her confidence. One afternoon in late November, Clara had an unexpected visitor. Anne Winters appeared at the Honeyed Leaf, looking emotional. "Clara, I wanted to thank you," she said, sitting down. "I don't know exactly what you've done, but Lily is different. She's baking again, really baking. She's talking about the future. She seems hopeful. I know she's been leaving things here, and I know you've been helping her somehow. Thank you." Clara felt tears prick her eyes. Lily is finding her own way back. I've just provided a safe space for her to do it. She's incredibly talented, and she's braver than she knows. "She talks about you," Anne said. "About your kindness. About how you never pushed her. About how you created space for her to heal at her own pace. She's talked about maybe, someday, when she's ready, actually coming into the shop, meeting you properly. That would be enormous for her." "Whenever she's ready," Clara said gently. "There's no rush." As December approached, Clara noticed the notes from Lily were becoming more personal, more trusting. She wrote about her experience in London in more detail. About the supervisor who had broken her confidence, about the toxic environment, about how she'd internalized the criticism and lost sight of her own worth. But she also wrote about reclaiming her passion, about remembering why she'd fallen in love with baking in the first place, about building something new and healthier than what she'd had before. One morning, the note with the basket included a question. "Would you be willing to tell people who makes these items? Not in a big announcement, just if they ask. I think I'm ready for people to know. Not ready to be there in person yet, but ready for my name to be attached to my work." Clara's response was immediate and enthusiastic. "Absolutely yes. I'm so proud of you, Lily. This is a big step. I'll mention it naturally when people ask, which they do constantly. You should also think about a business name, something that represents who you are and what you create." The response came that evening, tucked under the empty basket. "I've thought about it. Midnight Baker. That's when I work, when I feel most myself, when the world is quiet and I can just create. What do you think?" Clara loved it. Perfect. Midnight Baker it was. The next day, when customers asked about the beautiful pastries, Clara told them. "They're made by a local baker named Lily Winters. She calls her business Midnight Baker." She's incredibly talented." The response was immediate and enthusiastic. "Lily Winters, Anne's granddaughter. I didn't know she baked." "Oh, I remember Lily. So shy. I'm delighted she's sharing her talent." "Midnight Baker. What a wonderful name. How can we order directly from her?" Clara passed along all the feedback and questions. Lily seemed both terrified and thrilled by the response. Over the next few weeks, word spread through Willowbrook. Lily Winters, the shy young woman who'd come back from London, was an extraordinary baker. Her business, Midnight Baker, was producing some of the finest baked goods anyone had tasted. People began stopping Anne on the street to compliment Lily's work, to place orders, to share how much they enjoyed her creations. Anne reported that Lily was overwhelmed but happy. One morning in mid-December, as Clara was setting out Lily's latest delivery, the bell above the door chimed. A young woman entered, nervous but determined. Lily. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Lily said softly, "Hello, Clara. I thought it was time we actually met." Clara came around the counter and did something she'd been wanting to do for weeks. She hugged Lily. Not too tight, not too long, just a warm, welcoming embrace. "Hello, Lily. I'm so glad you're here. Would you like some tea?" They sat together by the window, drinking Clara's special winter blend, talking like old friends even though they'd never spoken before. Lily explained more about her journey, about how the honeyed leaf had represented a kind of goal, a safe space she wanted to reach, a community she wanted to be part of but was too afraid to enter. "Leaving the baked goods here felt like extending a hand across a distance I couldn't yet cross," Lily said. "Your responses, your encouragement, made me feel like the hand was being grasped, like there was connection, even though I wasn't ready to be physically present." "And now you're here," Clara said warmly. "Now I'm here," Lily agreed. Still nervous, still fragile in some ways, but healing, growing. And that's partly because you created a space where I could do that safely. They talked for over an hour. About baking, about London, about Willowbrook, about healing and finding your way back to yourself, about community and kindness, and the importance of patient support. Before Lily left, Clara asked, "Would you consider doing something for me? The winter solstice gathering is coming up in a few days. Would you attend? Not working, not providing anything, just coming as a member of the community, letting people meet you, thank you for your work." Lily hesitated, then slowly nodded. "I'll try. I can't promise I won't panic and leave, but I'll try. That's all anyone can ask," Clara said. The evening of the winter solstice gathering arrived cold and clear, with stars brilliant in the dark sky. Clara had decorated the shop with candles and evergreen boughs, creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere. The scent of cinnamon and pine filled the air. As guests began arriving, Clara found herself watching the door, wondering if Lily would actually come. She told herself not to expect it, that Lily needed to move at her own pace, but she hoped. The shop filled with familiar faces. Mrs. Pembroke, Beatrice, Eleanor, Sophie, old Tom Fletcher, Emma from the bookshop, everyone chatting warmly, enjoying the special winter tea blend Clara had prepared. Then, about 20 minutes into the gathering, the bell chimed. Lily stepped through the door, with Anne beside her for support. The room didn't fall silent dramatically, but conversations did quiet as people noticed her. Clara moved to greet them. "Lily, Anne, I'm so glad you came." She took Lily's arm gently and led her into the room. "Everyone, this is Lily Winters, the talented baker behind Midnight Baker." What happened next was beautiful. One by one, people approached Lily, not overwhelming her, not crowding, just offering genuine warmth and gratitude. "Those apple tarts were the best thing I've tasted in years. Thank you for the beautiful birthday cake. My granddaughter was delighted. Your cinnamon rolls remind me of my childhood." Each compliment, each expression of appreciation, Lily received with growing confidence. Her shoulders relaxed. Her smile became more natural. She was seeing firsthand the joy her work brought. Mrs. Pembroke, with her characteristic directness but unusual gentleness, said, "My dear, you have a remarkable gift. I hope you'll continue sharing it with us." Lily's eyes filled with tears, but they were good tears. "Thank you, all of you, for understanding, for being patient with my unconventional approach." "Nonsense," old Tom Fletcher said gruffly. "You shared your work in exactly the way you needed to, and it made each morning feel like receiving a gift. Can't ask for more than that." As the evening continued, Clara watched Lily gradually relax into the gathering. She was still quiet, still cautious, but she was present, engaged, part of the community. It was a transformation Clara had hoped for but hadn't dared to expect. Later, as the gathering was winding down, Lily approached Clara. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything, for understanding what I needed before I even knew myself, for creating this space, for your patience and kindness." Clara squeezed her hand. "Thank you for trusting me, for taking each brave step, for sharing your beautiful gifts with all of us." "What comes next for Midnight Baker?" Lily smiled, and Clara saw real hope in her expression. "I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'd like to expand. Maybe rent a small space, set up a proper bakery, still keep reasonable hours, still protect my peace. But create something official, something lasting. I think I'm ready for that now." "I think you are too," Clara agreed, "and Willowbrook will support you every step of the way." As Lily and Anne left that evening, bundled against the winter cold, Clara felt a deep sense of satisfaction. This was what the honeyed leaf was truly about. Not just tea and community, but creating space for healing, for people to find their way back to themselves, for gentle mysteries to unfold into stories of hope and renewal. The next morning, Clara arrived to find one final anonymous delivery on her doorstep. A single, beautifully decorated cake with a note. "For Clara, with gratitude, admiration and friendship, this is the last anonymous delivery. From now on, everything I make will bear my name proudly. Thank you for helping me find the courage to reclaim myself. With love, Lily." Clara brought the cake inside, placed it on the counter where the morning light caught it perfectly. She made herself a cup of tea and sat by the window, watching Willowbrook wake up to a new day. 6 months later, Midnight Baker opened in a small storefront on the main street, just 3 doors down from the honeyed leaf. Lily had kept her vision clear. The space was cosy, not overwhelming. The hours were reasonable, protecting her well-being. The focus was on quality and care, not volume or pressure. The opening day was a village celebration. Everyone came to support Lily, to celebrate her courage, to continue enjoying her exceptional work. Clara provided tea for the event, and the 2 shops quickly became complementary destinations. People would get pastries from Midnight Baker and tea from the honeyed leaf, or vice versa. The 2 young women became close friends, supporting each other's businesses and personal growth. Lily still baked mostly at night, when the world was quiet and she felt most creative. But now she opened her shop each morning with confidence, greeting customers, accepting compliments, claiming her space in the world. She never forgot what Clara had done for her. How those early notes of encouragement, those patient responses, that space to heal had made all the difference. And Clara never forgot the lesson Lily had taught her. That sometimes the most profound gift we can offer someone is simply witness and patience, space to heal without pressure, acknowledgement without demands. As winter turned to spring and the village bloomed with new life, the honeyed leaf and Midnight Baker stood side by side. 2 spaces of warmth and welcome, 2 stories of finding home, finding purpose, finding the courage to share your gifts with the world. And late at night, when Lily baked in her now professional kitchen, she often thought of Clara, of the mysterious connection they'd built through notes and baskets, of the trust that had formed in absence of face-to-face contact, of how sometimes the gentlest approach creates the deepest change. The Midnight Baker had found her way home, and the honeyed leaf had helped light the path. Thank you for visiting Willowbrook tonight and sharing Lily's story. Sometimes our greatest healing happens not in grand gestures, but in small acts of kindness, in patience, in creating safe spaces where people can find their way back to themselves. May you carry that warmth with you into sleep. Rest well, dear friend. Until we meet again at the honeyed leaf. Good night.